organized a conference at Newcastle on cultural narratives of crisis and renewal, and I wanted to involve the city in our activities for two reasons. One, because it didn't make any sense to talk about crisis and renewal in Spain or in Latin America without involving the city in which we are dealing with these matters, Newcastle. And the other main reason is that Newcastle has a rich history and a painful history of crisis and renewal. I mean, it's dismantling of the mining and the sugar industries, but also the revitalization of the city through culture. And we can see that in the quayside area with cultural landmarks like the Baltic Modern Art Museum and the Sage Auditorium. So culture played a very significant role here, and also the European Commission funding all those renewal activities in the quayside area. I contacted the artist, Javier de Soucy, because his particular place of enunciation is halfway between the expert practitioner and also the cultural activist. And I'm following here Thomas McLaughlin's use of vernacular theory. So both social positions, along with the pop culture fund, can lead to vernacular theory defined as those practices of those who lack cultural power and who speak a critical language grounded in local concerns. So not the language spoken by academic knowledge elites. They do not make use of the language or analytical strategies of academic theory, but they devise a language and a strategy appropriate to their own concerns. So Javier de Soucy, who has extensive experience in travel writing, and he has authored a series of graphic novels depicting his journeys through Latin America. He's also an artist with ethical and political concerns with important issues such as the violence in the Basque Country and between the Basque terrorist group ETA and Spanish state terrorism. Or recently as well with another graphic novel with the refugee crisis. So Javier represented a point of view of the outsider, but with a critical way of seeing and also drawing. So expert practitioners of a given craft or skill develop a picture of their own practice, a sense of how it is or ought to be practiced, of its values and its worldview, and many are quite articulate about this theory, as Thomas McLaughlin argues. So the research method employed in this activity involved certain mediation in relation to the idea of the flaneur. So that wanderer through the city with no particular purpose in what he's doing. And that was developed by Walter Benjamin, drawing on poetry by Charles Baudelaire. The approach adopted in sketching Newcastle, as I said, implied a departure from this original idea of the flaneur in relation to time, guidance, and methodology. So we invited Javier for 1 week to visit Newcastle. We provided specific tours around the city with informed individuals, knowledgeable individuals, to get an idea of the urban diversity of Newcastle in terms of architecture, but also in terms of social fabric of the city, of the communities. We also wanted to exhibit Javier's artwork at the last day of his stay, which coincided with this conference in Newcastle. And beyond that, Javier decided to draw sketches of his experiences, focusing on particular places or people that he might find, he thought it was interesting. So he decided not to edit his watercolors. They've got a sense of style of urgency, of immediacy, and that's what we wanted to capture. That was his idea, and we thought it was fantastic. In that sense, these sketches are not what they are. Really, the important bit is what they become, and what they become is this idea of becoming of an object, following Nicholas Thomas, when readers engage with this object, these sketches, these images, and peel the layers condensed in this urban experience. So Newcastle and the northeast of England have really created rich social networks and art collectives, NGOs, research groups, etc. And they are cooperating and collaborating despite the economic crisis, the uncertainty, and also the politics of austerity. Javier de Soucy visited these collectives and drew his impressions of the people and places he visited. He wandered around the crumbling modernist core of Newcastle city centre,
where these temporary cultural initiatives are challenging the permanence of conventional urban developments. The New Bridge project, for instance, and many other cultural proposals are filling this physically and metaphorically, the cracks left by the decaying modernist developments from the 60s, with inspiring practices of possible futures. Javier visited also Biker as well, where there is acclaimed housing design, but didn't manage to ease the area's stigma of poverty. In Phenom, Javier shared the everyday work of time exchange and green growth. In this neighborhood, economic hardship and austerity cuts, and also high population turnover, are making it difficult to care for public spaces and to develop neighborhood ties. So these two projects are partnering to strengthen these social ties by fostering exchanges of time and plans, and basically is allowing residents to swap time and skills. Javier also picked up the rake and spade with the Concrete Project, which offers asylum seekers the opportunity of gardening away the pressures of their circumstances. The Concrete Project is both a space of conviviality and retreats, where it's possible to discuss choices, make objects, grow plants, and also plan ahead. With the outside gaze to a city, we hope to capture the vitality of Newcastle, but also its contradictions. Of course, at the time, we didn't know that exactly a year later, the country was to take one of the most important decisions, which is the Brexit referendum. This was in 2015, the referendum in 2016. It is interesting to note that at least one of the sketches by Javier was actually anticipating all these tensions. And there is a conversation in Biker in which these migrants talk about, how, all these originals are in Spanish. The online edition, which is accessible open access, has the translations into English as well, right? Developed by students at Newcastle University. But these migrants were saying, my neighbors are telling me to go away to my own country, although I'm paying my taxes, and he's living out of benefits, so why should I do that? There's some clear, tension here going on, building up, and a year later we know what happened. This skepticism and this animosity towards the European Union operates as well at different levels, and Captain Euro, surprisingly, is incapable to discern the logic of these Euro-skeptics. Captain Euro, although very short-lived, was the most comprehensive branding campaign using comics to promote a favorable vision of the European Union following the uncertainty of the 2008 crisis. So a few comics were published online, a few comic strips, a few different items. The website is still live, so if you're curious about it, you can just Google it. It's over-didactic, over-imposing, and not really well thought, to be honest. What a sketch in Newcastle, and I think comics in general, can provide as a research method is, it's many things that can offer really, but I'll focus on 3 points. Since comics are generally made of fragments put together, they facilitate the construction of narration through the active participation of the reader, putting together those panels and also making use of the gata, those spaces that also Sarah was mentioning in between panels. The flexibility of comics composition and the plurivectorial nature of comics narration allows for focused research on story narration and readership. And second, the ability of the image to carry most of the weight of the narrative and readership, makes comics a resolutely transnational medium. And that's where translation plays an important role here, because comics can include text, but may not include any text at all, and the narration will not suffer. And dealing with dealing with translation, there's a rich history of, for instance, Spanish artists working for British publishers, such as Fleetway in the 1960s. There are comics like Tintin, published in around 80 languages, translated to 80 languages, so there's a whole story to be said about that. And third also, given the cheaply produced nature of comics and the intrinsic link between humans and drawing as one of the early cultural manifestations of mankind, comics are able to capture social experience and social change as seen in projects such as Sketching Newcastle. Sorry, I go quite too fast with this. So many of the ideas that we have listened to from our colleagues mention the ideas of authenticity, of drawing your own comics, as opposed, not really opposed, but vis-a-vis the idea of digital comics, which are more polished, the use of Photoshop, etc. We also have several points made about narration and also the possibility of using comics to make visible these traumatic experiences, as Sarah was mentioning. And I think comics can also play a significant part as well in this regard because of the relation between comics and memory. I mean, the multimodality and expressive possibilities in page and panel composition make comics really a suitable research method for the analysis of processes of cognition and memory acquisition, as this medium is built on the expressive multiplicity of fragments and the synchronicity of possible times. So there are different angles, different approaches towards comics as a research method with many possibilities here. I would like to leave it here, but it's just opening up the debate for many questions you may have or may not.